We are live. Welcome to my thoughts on Arrow Season 1, Episode 17, The Huntress Returns. This episode is rated TV-14, so will this video be there? There will be spoilers for this episode and all the ones leading up to it. Another episode I love. Holy crap. They got there. Yeah. It's one of those things where, like, on the one hand, I was like, I would have loved to see Huntress come back. You know, The Huntress Returns, such a momentous event that they make it the actual title of the episode. On the one hand, I would have loved for her to return just like the very next episode after she was introduced. But on the other, it's the anticipation. Because, like, yeah, you know, we knew she was still going to be, yeah. And it works, you know, this thing of, she was off, you know, traveling for a while. You know, what was it? Finding herself now that she's not who she was, something like that. And she finds out, you know, he's going into WITSEC, and she starts, you know, going after people who can find out where. Because yeah, she accepted the idea that he, you know, was it consecutive life sentences in prison, but the idea of him being free, which is also noteworthy. By the end of this episode, he is still free. She didn't get him, so yeah, really nicely done. Okay, let's see. So, I guess I'll start with some overall stuff for the episode before I get into the chronological. So, yeah, nothing about the undertaking in this episode. I thought that worked. It would have been it's a jam-packed episode as it is. Let's see, but yeah, you know, more stuff with Huntress, with you know, and how, you know, yeah, her relationship, you know, the way it gradually evolves, perhaps devolves by the end of this episode, with Oliver, the way she affects his other relationships, and the further developments with Roy, and his relationship with Thea, and the developing. Okay, so yeah, more about Sarah and how that affects that entire the Lances, and then we have and Tommy, you know, trying to cope with, you know, you're a murderer, you kill people. I've known you my whole life, and now I feel like I don't even know you. You know, just yeah. I think that let's get into the chronological stuff. So let's see. It starts at the strip club, and they continue to do a good job of like, you know, an argument could be made that there's a little bit more like dancing that there needed to be, but it is also just saying this takes place at a strip club. You know, it's setting the scene and making it clear that Gus is like really into the show. The way the camera pans across Huntress, that's the most male gazy the show has gotten so far. Didn't think that was necessary. I do appreciate that. That's let's see. I think it's either exactly or a very close approximation to the costume that the character wears in the comics. That is something I really appreciate, that in a lot of these recent superhero, you know, adaptations to film and show and such, they tend to tone down what the female characters who are in costume wear, because in some of the comics it's just ridiculous. Like, yeah. Let's see. And I appreciate an argument could be made, well, you know, it's because he's like ogling her, so the camera's almost like a POV. It didn't really need to be there, though. But yeah, you know, she gets him in there, and he's so focused on her body and the idea of this private dance that he doesn't even notice, because like he knows who she is. You know, she's not covering her face or anything. Yeah, I already said about like the actress playing Huntress in my video on the first episode she's in. She's just so freaking good. the little like the fire in her eyes, the little wicked smiles. The way that her lips will go from like neutral to like this yeah, wicked smile, just fantastic. And yeah, anytime she and Oliver share the screen, it's electric. And yeah, the thing about, he's like, I mean, for a while, I was in on everything, but then, FBI took over. They don't tell me anything anymore. I can't tell you anything. And she's like, I believe you. And then she shoots him because, like, yeah, she is a killer. She doesn't, you know, really value human life. And it's probably also a thing of like, loose ends taken care of. But yeah, um, it's the kind of thing like Oliver in the same situation would have said, if you tell anyone, I'll visit you again or something like that. And let's see, I think the next thing, ah, yeah, I definitely don't remember the exact order. Let's do a Roy scene, I guess. Yeah, um, you know, she's walking with a friend. They're talking about their +1 for the opening of the club, and she spots him. She's like, I didn't know purse snatchers took coffee breaks. And the thing about, you know I can get you a job. My brother's opening a club. And the thing about, you really want my, uh, keys to expensive cars in my hands. So she's trusting him a lot. um and I think that does pretty well cover. Right, so let's see. Okay, let's yeah, so at one point in the episode, yeah, McKenna. Poor McKenna. I really appreciate that they didn't fridge her. If she hadn't been wearing a vest when she took, a blast to the chest, she would have died, and that would have been like, oh, motivating the white male protagonist, and that's such a, yeah, we gotta end that trope, like, for real. Um, like, and most like satirize it. But yeah, the I appreciate that and she isn't even like, it's her decision to move. I mean, it's affected by, she has to move to get to the best physical therapist, but like, yeah, it's also not a kidnapping or something. Uh, I think that brings us to the but yeah. So he's, they're talking about that, and she's like, is opening a club a date? And he's like, I hope so. And the thing about, is that a yes? No. And then she kisses him. That's a yes. I feel so bad for that couple. Yeah, I'm a softie. Sue me. Uh, yeah, some very sweet kissing in this episode. Let's see. I think, does that pretty well bring us to the what was the other thing? I guess there's not really anything else in that scene particularly, but just, yeah, the way that it serves really well as this reminder that they are very happy together. And later we also see, there's the thing about, yeah, the he comes to see her, and you know yeah, they are a very happy couple, and it, making it all the sadder that now they're being broken up by this. I think that, does that bring us to, yeah, great when they're in the lair discussing, and the, let's see, uh, I guess, yeah, just, Dig pointing out, she is, your one of your weaknesses, one of your humanizing weaknesses. You have to really keep in mind, you can't just let her kill people. You tried to save her, and she refused to let you. Uh, I think that brings us to the let's see. Yeah. So she, he's trying to find her, and we hear like women laughing, but we don't hear like speaking because she has a distinct voice that would give it away. But yeah, at first like I thought, oh, it's Thea and the friend she had with her when she saw Roy on his coffee break. And he goes in. It's like, oh, it's nice to hear Thea laugh. She's been through a lot. Sometimes she can struggle to find joy, but here she's, oh, Helena. And yeah, it's such a great thing because like Helena telling, because yeah, Helena showed up, rang the doorbell, said, oh, can I talk to Thea? And you know let's see, the whoever answered the door, if it wasn't Thea, they might recognize, oh, Helena, Bertinelli, you're rich, I trust you implicitly, come on in. The rich can get away with a lot that the rest of us can't. No one should be able to get away with the things that a lot of the rich are currently getting away with. Let's see. And that's all rich people. I'm not talking about any one specific ethnic group, as some people, will use it as like, oh, we're talking about Jewish people. It's ridiculous. Let's see. I think, was that the right? Okay. So I'm catching up. I know, bad form to like recommend an old video, whatever. Big Joel's video. Let's see. What was it again? Something about Kanye West and something or other. But it's like a month old by now, So yeah, that was a really excellent video, and he goes into anti-Semitism in that one, criticizing it, obviously. I think that does bring, but yeah. So the two of them are talking, and yeah, Helena just telling me, oh, I dated Oliver, and for our first date we went to this place. Yeah, that to Thea that just sounds like, oh, some insight, because like Oliver doesn't tell her that much, and she wants to know how he's doing, and talking about a good date is like, or even a bad one could be fun, could be something she can tease him with. But Oliver and we, the audience, we hear the subtext. I can get to your, like even before, like she spells it out not very long after, but we know that she, yeah, it's very clear, it's a power move. She could have called him, she could have done any number of things. She knows where the lair is. She could have gone directly to the lair, but she wants him to know your family is not safe from me, And I thought they did a really good job with this thing of, I mentioned I don't think she's going to give away his identity, and they play with, is she, isn't she? And ultimately she doesn't. And because she had a chance, let's see. She talks for maybe a minute or two without saying, without giving that secret away. Because like, even if they don't at first believe, I'm sure at first they'd be like, Oliver Queen, that doesn't make any sense, but she can tell them where the lair is. She can say the dig is part of it. Yeah, there's a lot that can be, yeah, like hypothetically, let's say she really badly wanted to get them in trouble. If she tells them where the lair is and says he's keeping, he kidnapped someone and is keeping them down there, they can get a warrant, break in. Like, I realize that there's like a security lock, but that, they can break in. That's it. What's Oliver gonna say? There's very incriminating stuff down there. So, yeah. Let's see. I think that does pretty well bring us to the... But yeah, she says, it's nice you have family, because, like, if she has one defining trait, it's kind of killing family, you know? So, like, for now, she's mostly been going for her own, but times change. I'm just really quickly going to check if that's something important that I just received. If the thing will unlock. Okay, it's going to ask me for the code, and let's see what we got. Right, that makes sense. Yeah, nothing I need to deal with right now. Yes, so nothing serious for that matter. I think that, yeah, so, he goes to dig and says, well, that was a pretty clear, like, implicit threat, I don't know. I may have to work with her, And let's see. Oh, right. Yeah, he doesn't immediately jump to that, but they have a conversation, and I think is that no, it's also that's also later. Let's see. Right. So yeah. Let's see. Then we have the right. Also, yeah. Moira meeting Helena, and I appreciate that they don't. From the look on Moira's face, I think she suspects that this is a current or former lover, but she doesn't need it spelled out. So yeah. I wonder if she's thinking, is she the one that he doesn't remember the name of? And then we have. Oh, right. I gotta talk about. Okay, so. Such an effective scene with the entire Lance clan. Well, as much of it as we know for a fact is currently alive, I suppose. There's so much going on in that scene. Okay, let's see if I can get into everything. So, I mentioned, I was worried that Detective Lance was going to, I guess I should call him Quentin. It's a silly pun. Quentin, I was worried he was going to spiral without Laurel. And instead, he's actually really, he's reflected, and it's just wonderful to see. Yeah, and he shows up, and before she can say anything, he's like, I'm sorry, I was wrong to use you to catch the Hood. And then she's like, thank you. And I like that's an important note, important distinction. She doesn't say I forgive you. She says thank you. If you apologize to someone and they say thank you instead of it's okay or I forgive you, it means they're not ready to forgive you, but they appreciate that you're making an effort, And yeah, it's I quite appreciate it that was how they handled it, because they could easily have had her either say I forgive you or like I don't want to hear it or something, But yeah, she apologizes, and Dinah is right there, and yeah, I thought they just the acting and writing for him. He like stands up and he's like, "What are you doing here? Why are you here?" He's not happy to see her, and he's like, yeah, he's trying to understand more than like just because he's not really letting himself feel anything positive for her. He's focusing on the fact because she left and now she's back, and there's something wrong with that in his mind, and it is like in a way he's not completely wrong that something big happened, and yeah, she explains that she thinks Sarah made it, and it is like there's that picture, and they say a tourist took this, and there's at least one or other person in the picture. If she ended up on an island that's like just a tourist destination, yeah, I mean, her passport was almost definitely still on the boat, so it's not like she can leave, but maybe she can find some kind of work. She might have to be like she'd be an illegal immigrant. But that's not a country where ICE is separating families, ruining lives, and deporting people whose only crime is not being legal immigrants, which Republicans have for a while now made as difficult as at all possible. Some of them were actually arrested partway through the process of becoming legal citizens, so it's not like they weren't showing, the initiative. And, some of them are sent to a country that they didn't originate from. Some of them are put in this horrible prison. Knur did an excellent video. Let's see, I think it was something like "The camps are worse than you think," something like that. Fantastic. Yeah. Anyway, I could see like maybe she works. Maybe she's paid under the table, and yeah, like just some basic job, or maybe she just works for a tiny bit of money and room and board, something like that. If she's like, I don't know, waiting tables or something, and yeah, getting a meal from the restaurant where she works, something like that. I could see that actually being the case. So that is very, very interesting. And yeah, I mean, how would she be able to like contact, if like she didn't have her devices on her, and they would have been ruined by the water anyway. And maybe could she be in some kind of trouble so she is unable to, yeah, I could see that working, right? And also, I guess, let's see, if does she know how to read and write Chinese? Because like I figure the like, unless you know how to change it to English, the devices down there probably are in Chinese. They use these symbols instead of the letters that we're used to here in the West. So I don't know, how would she? I mean, I guess she would basically have to convince someone to write it, and that might also pose other problems. I think I'm getting too into the weeds. Anyway, it's a really interesting plot thread. And let's see. Yeah, Quentin points out 3 years, no email, no call, nothing, and then you show up with this. And yeah, like we can understand why he's so upset, but also why she so badly wants to share this, because like this changes everything, and just it's such a powerful scene. The entire thread in this episode across multiple scenes. I love how this show handles grief. It's so good, because like Laurel isn't sure that she believes that it's true, but she feels like, I mean, if there is a chance, we should. Dinah seems like she genuinely, like, she's relatively convinced, and Quentin is at a place where he's like, do you know how long what was his line again? Do you know how long it took for me to get to a place where Sarah wasn't the first thing I thought of in the morning? He can't. It's like, don't give me hope. Don't do this to me. I was good. Because like, there was a time where he was drinking a lot to cope with this. He got past that, and now, like, he's terrified of being dragged back to this, heart. He can't lose her twice, basically, like, if emotionally speaking, he can't cope with that. Let's see. I think I guess there's a good place to talk. So yeah, Tommy. The thing about well, this morning didn't go well, with my parents. Oh, right, that was today, because he's so preoccupied. Oh, again, we understand why. That's another thing the show does really well, having these like dramatic scenes where we understand, multiple perspectives, because that does make it more interesting. Sometimes it's very cathartic to see like an argument or something where one person is clearly in the right and maybe just laying into the other, but ultimately it is more gratifying. It goes to a deeper place when you understand, multiple perspectives, perhaps even every perspective in the argument. And yeah. Tommy, as mentioned, like the fact that, he thought he knew Oliver, and the fact that Oliver has killed people, which I also really appreciate. Oliver doesn't try to justify it, and he doesn't even seem to consider denying it, which would also be silly, but there are characters who would, so yeah, and he's trying to, he's not like yelling at Tommy. He's like, hey, we need to talk. And there's that thing about, oh, I was, busy with the vendors. No, you weren't, Tommy. Is everything okay? We're friends. We've known each other our whole lives. Talk to me, and he doesn't say like, hey, you're not gonna tell anyone I'm the hood, right? Because again, that would be kind of selfish. Uh, but yeah, there's it causes some friction between Tommy and Laurel, that he won't tell her the truth, throughout the episode, and he is, a million miles away, as she puts it. Which I think would put him somewhere in outer space. If you're like super into space, good news, Earth is in space. But I think that pretty well covers. But yeah, he comes to her office and lies about and the thing about, just tell me the truth, and he makes an obvious lie, and he's like, the blender. I don't know. I like blending. And her line, devastating. I thought I asked for the truth. And let's see. I think that does pretty well bring us to. So obviously there's some stuff at the party. I think that might be. I guess I'll briefly talk because I don't remember. No, wait, that's after the party. I guess I'll talk party then. Yes. So, yeah, that does look like a really cool party. I don't normally like parties or watching them in media, but yeah, that looked really cool. And the thing about, you're right in time. I can't dance. You could have just said, I'm a white dude. That would have gotten the message across, but okay, you felt the need to spell it out. But I think that does. That's also a thing. Like several episodes ago, I wasn't sure they were really gonna do the club. I thought it was just he was gonna drag it out forever and make excuses or something. But yeah, the let's see, the Queen family, what's it called? Is it called toasting when there's not that much of a speech? But yeah, they clink their glasses together, and and I think is it McKenna who's also there or something like that? But and Thea saying, your club doesn't totally suck. Yeah, that's a very sibling thing to say. But yeah, they do a really great job of making it clear, yeah, this is a nice party, and then Helena right there in the middle, and it's such a great, like, because there's the thing about okay, put extra security on my mother and sister. Also really loved, couldn't help but notice straws. Some of them were green, some of them were red. I don't know, I just get the feeling that wasn't random, that someone working on set design maybe thought we could add a little hint to something. And yeah, the thing about so yeah, Dig says way ahead of you, and I was like, thank you, just doing my job. For not saying I told you so. Master Wayne, when that day comes, even I won't want to. But I did bloody tell you. Let's see. I think that does bring us to the yeah, Helena goes up to Tommy and yeah, gets into the lair and has him yeah, with the hand and the note. They said it was urgent, and yeah, I quite appreciated Oliver talking her out of it and trying to de-escalate and trying to reason with her and then saying let him go now, engaging the Arrow voice, and yeah, I am not speaking from experience, but I have heard, yes, the thing she does to him hurts really, really badly. And it's one of those things, like, it's clever because, like, hypothetically, if she, like, used a knife or something, that would feel, like, really drastic. Like, she's not necessarily threatening killing him, not with the kind of grip that she has on him, but she's causing him pain, and it is like from that from that hold, I think it's called, it would be very easy for her to like snap bones in his hand, and that's yeah, obviously extremely unpleasant. Not gonna kill him, so she's saying, if you don't help me, I will hurt him. I will, break bones if I have to. And it's, yeah, that is very persuasive. It's noted early in the episode he cares about other people, and she uses that. There's the line about leverage. They say that almost as much as Battlefield Earth, a movie that I'm very grateful this is nowhere near. There's not really been much, like, even remotely bad on this show so far. That movie is truly dreadful. Anyway, yes, I think that does bring us. Where were we? It brings us to the something, but what did it bring us to? Yeah, so yeah, Oliver, agrees, and Dig is like, what are you doing? And Oliver points out, don't act like you don't know what it's like to want revenge. What if Floyd Lawton was standing right here in this room? Are you telling me that you wouldn't, was it like, work with Helena to track him down? And Dig's like, why would I get help to track him down if he's standing in the room? That was a very awkward way to put that. But I do appreciate, yeah, he does want revenge, and Floyd is out there. That was also something very nicely set up with a near silhouette shot in the episode before this one. Very nicely done. But yeah, they talk about it, with Elena right there in and the thing about, well, FBI, we don't know exactly where he's going. And then Felicity is like, well, allow me, c'est moi, I would love to get into the FBI. Yeah. Maybe she's looking for the Epstein. Yeah. Let's see. It's pretty amazing. Now they're saying like, oh, there is no client list. And I saw someone point out, so we find out who the clients were in another way. Like, that doesn't actually mean, like, is the implication supposed to be he had no clients? Like, for real. We do have some witnesses. I don't know if you've ever heard of witness testimony, but it can actually be really, really effective. And like some of the people, that might be on the list might be really recognizable rich people, powerful people. So, like, it would be easy. Yeah. Anyway, I think but yeah, immediately Oliver's like, Felicity, You're gonna sit this one out, And yeah, really nice little, Helena just gets a good enough look at her. And here's the name, so she has an easy enough time finding out. Yeah. Yeah, because, she works for Queen Consolidated, a girl named Felicity. She knows her appearance. It's not going to be very difficult to find her. Holy crap, she might literally have just gone up to the reception and been like, "Hi, I need to see Felicity. We're old friends, but she didn't tell me." This is a surprise. I'm springing this on her. I got to the city. It's been a while since I saw her. I don't know where she works. Could you tell me that? Because, yeah. And maybe there might be more than one Felicity working, but, describe what she looks like, how she talks. Anyone who's met her, she makes an impression. But yeah, let's see. So that, yeah, very clever that, without hacking, they can only say, well, there's two vans. He's in one of them. Very clever, It would make sense for I did not at all guess that it was a trap. But as soon as they explain, it's like, oh right, of course they could do that, because who else is it? And right, it's not even who else. They know because there was a security camera in the club. She was, you can see her face in that image, so or that video. Yeah. Let's see. I feel like there's one more thing. I think I will briefly talk about. So yeah, the thing about. How did Roy work out? Never showed. And so she goes to him. The thing about stalker. I don't know. I think Thea is more of a Solaris type. Oh, you mean like that kind of stalker? And yeah, this thing of, I got you a job and then you didn't show. And this is something that, like he himself said, was like he has priors and he's a high school dropout. For a lot of them, it's very difficult for them to get a job, and a number of them get anxious and don't show up for the job, and I really appreciate it being treated with empathy because, sadly, there are a number of Republican talking heads who say, oh, they don't deserve any help, when, studies show, no, if we help them, that's actually better. Imprisoning them, it doesn't accomplish anything. And even if you want to be cynical about it and only care about the money, it is cheaper to work to get them work instead of imprisoning them. But, some powerful Republicans just like the idea of putting people behind bars, punishing them, because of this ridiculous obsession with the Old Testament, everyone's a sinner and you have to find the sinner and punish them really harshly. But yeah, and he points out, maybe I don't want charity from, rich, yeah. And then we have such an amazing exchange when she says, why are you so obsessed with money? Money don't matter. It doesn't matter, whatever. And then he, his retort, best line of the episode, spoken like someone who has it, because that's the thing, if you have enough money, you don't have to think about money, really. Poor people do. And, yeah, she leaves, and then she runs into a guy. I have to admit, I don't know. I get the feeling that he's not really lost. And, yeah, awesome to see, Roy jumping into action, the little jumps and moves that he does. And yeah, I also really appreciate, a lot of time in media like this, if, the bad guy has a knife, the hero will just do incredible moves and never be hit by the knife, when in reality, that's again, we have numbers. If you attack someone who has a knife, I forget the percentage, but a good amount of the time, the person attacking the person who has a knife will get stabbed. And yes, sometimes that is true when they know, self-defense moves. It is extremely dangerous. And if you're not 100% sure that you can do it, you know, you probably shouldn't. I think that brings us to, but yeah, so, you know, they go to the doctor, and then you have the thing about, you know, you're lucky you have a friend like that. She's not my friend. Yeah, they're really adorable together in this kind of, like, you know, both of them insisting that they don't really care about the other, and just, yeah. um and so it's interesting with the needle. Apparently in the comics, the character, there's at least an arc where there's something about a needle. I guess I shouldn't just, so, but just, you know, might be a reference to that. And apparently the actor is actually really afraid of needles in real life, so that's, yeah. um but yeah, the thing about, you know, try to think about something other than the needle. Like what? I don't know, but just not the needle. Just try, Roy, please try to not focus on the fact that you're about to be jabbed with a pretty large needle right in your arm, and it's probably gonna hurt. And, like, I don't know, I mean, are you gonna be okay? Because, like, are we sure, did we see him, like, disinfect the, maybe you could catch some disease? Like, there's a lot of things that could go wrong. This isn't helping, is it? um their kiss, I don't know if I think I need to think a little bit more. Maybe in one of the next videos, I'll try to, because I feel like, obviously the thing they're doing is the sort of, methinks he doth protest too much. You know, deep down he wants her, and she wants him, and they're just, you know, uh, I don't know. I guess they're almost negging each other, but then they are also helping each other. So it's not purely that. Um, and you know, based on that, like, certainly there has been, like, some tension there. Like, it didn't feel like it came out of nowhere. So the fact that she kisses him without getting consent, nonverbal or otherwise, I don't know if, yeah, I need to think about it. I'll try to go into it in a future episode. I think I need to see, you know, more of them together to really be sure about, because it is, like, it can be dicey. You got to be careful how you deal with a story like that, because, like, you know, whether whoever, you know, initiates the kiss, if there isn't consent at all, like, you know, but maybe maybe it's implied from their other interactions. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. I mean, I guess one could argue that him saying that they're not friends, even, you know, right after he literally saved her life, you know, is that meant to say, like, they're more than friends, like they are romantic, that he sees it that way? Yeah, I need to think some more on it. I think that does. But I mean, I will definitely say, you know, the kiss itself, yeah, you know, they sold it. You know, it felt like, and they went, yeah, see, that wasn't so bad, was it? You know, it's just, it's a good line. Um, and let's see. I will definitely say that is definitely gonna work if you get a kiss from someone that you want to kiss. Um, I think, does that pretty well bring us to the? So there's obviously the, yeah. I think let's, yeah. So they go after the vans, and we have the thing about, you know, remember, Frank is the only person you kill. If you kill anybody else, I will put an arrow in. You know, just, yeah, really, really cool. And yeah, you know, he stops one of the cars, one of the vans, nothing in there. She stops the other one. Frank's not there, but several cops are. They've got her surrounded. Like, really, really nicely done. And the scene in the interrogation room, holy crap. So yeah, they're like, okay, so you know who the hood is, don't you? I can make it better, I can make it worse. And like the look on Helena's face, I was genuinely not sure if she was gonna go ahead and say it, because she was willing to hurt Tommy to the point where he needed, like, he went and saw a doctor and and he, suddenly I can't say that word at all. And then he got like the thing, I forget what it's called in English, but to cover part of his arm. So she did actually injure him. Is she willing to give up Oliver in exchange? And she ultimately doesn't, but for several seconds it seems like she is. She says, Oliver Queen. And they're like, we want to hear about the hood, not Oliver Queen. Because Quentin has accepted. It's definitely not Oliver. Yeah. The And instead of, she could have said, no, I'm telling you, he is Hood. And I already explained earlier in this video what she could do to really, ruin things for him if she wanted to. But she starts talking to McKenna and saying, your relationship is doomed. He hurts people. You know all about that, don't you, Quentin? He dated your daughter? Sorry, daughters. And that's, that's an archetype of female villain, the one who like manipulates with words and says and does really cruel, sadistic things to hurt. And I think ultimately she did know that he was coming. She was pretty sure, at least. So the fact that she tries to ruin his romantic relationship, it is very telling of, that's who she is. And given the chance to what was it, pull a dime? Oh, crap, I forget the term. But to tell him, tell the cops about his secret identity. She could also just refuse and say, hypothetically, she could say, I'm not saying anything without my lawyer present. That would also buy enough time for Oliver to get there. But instead, she chooses to say this really cruel thing, which also, like, there is this thing of, like, they were together and, she... they have a complicated, toxic relationship, and I think they do a really good job. And that's, again, a thing where it's a razor's edge. You got to be extremely careful that you don't slip into, like, oh, look at this woman. She's so jealous, and look at what she's saying about a person she cares about. She's going to ruin this relationship. Ugh. She's just a bad person, yeah. I don't know. Every so often you're going to meet a woman who's like this bad, and maybe there's a lot of them out there. I don't know. But, the show has done a lot to counter the idea that women are inherently lesser than men. We should be equal in rights because we are equal in, men are not superior to women. Women are not superior to men. Like, not in any inherent way. Individuals are, some individuals are superior to other individuals. But yeah, I think they handle it just right. And yeah, he frees her, and that's also such a great, like, red light and smoke, and he comes in with the gas mask and everything. Just, yeah, really, really cool. And yeah, he says, I've wanted to make sure you didn't tell them my secret. And she's like, is that the only reason? And just, yeah, really, really nicely done on that whole. And yeah, he insists, you're never gonna find your father. They're putting him in Witsec. It's impossible for you to find him. I think that pretty right. I really love that that Quentin does end up hearing out Dinah, and I think, yeah, really, really sad when she explains about, I'm moving away, and that's, I understand is that's a city connected to a different DC Comics character, so that's very cool. Yeah, I think, does that pretty well bring us to the what was the other thing? There's definitely one other thing that I really wanted to say about. So obviously I want to talk about the last little bit of the episode as well. Yeah. So the thing about, yeah, yeah, Felicity leaving the message, and you know, turns, and then she's right there. And also the thing about, so I saw that she got a high-powered crossbow, which she uses there at the end. Really, really badass, and love seeing her get another upgrade. And, yeah, she says this incriminating stuff about Helena, and then the camera pans around, and she also turns, and then Helena's right there, and she's like, I don't think we were properly introduced. Just this soft kind of, toxic, because, like, there's there is an implied threat there, because, like, to know her is to risk being hurt by her. So it's just, yeah. And yeah, they get there and free her, and she was forced to go into the FBI, and now Helena knows exactly where Frank is and is attacking, like, holy crap. Yeah. He gets there, and unfortunately, understandably, Mackenzie goes in instead of waiting for backup. And this, yeah, she kills a bunch of people with the high-powered crossbow. And I thought they did a really good job of making it clear, yeah, this thing is like, it fires them incredibly fast, And, yeah, he shows up. She gets the shotgun. She looks really cool with that as well. And, yeah, Frank manages to get away. And I thought they did a good job because, like, she's running around with a shotgun. No way she's not gonna get any. She, I don't know, at most like a stray hit or something. If she tries to fire it at that range, and he has too much of a head start for her to get all the way over him. And yeah, so much in this, like, fight. I really love how comic appropriate soap opera the show is. This isn't even the first episode where it's very, but the entire, I already mentioned the whole thing with the Lance family. But yeah, here we also have, and the way that these relationships, he's with McKenna while she's trying to catch him. Yeah, she doesn't know that she's trying to catch him. And yeah, these little things of, like, Arrow forces her to stop and fires the arrow, and she catches the arrow in midair. Love that kind of comic booky. Like, in real life at that range, I don't think that's very likely, but, comic book. And she's like, I practiced that move. I thought I might need it. You tried to kill me. Which, yeah, like, considering how she's been behaving throughout the episode, or acting rather, that doesn't really, you really don't want her to know that you're willing to take her out of the equation like that. And so she tries to grab him, like, in part by his throat to kill him. And, they wrestle for a little while. And then McKenna shows up, and, she's got, a gun aimed at Arrow, and is like, turn around slowly. And what's he gonna do? He can't actually attack to he can't pull his disappearing move. She's too close. He can't fire an arrow or anything of the sort because he has his back turned to her, and she's already ready to shoot. And so the complicated nature that Helena shoots McKenna, who she knows cares about and is dating Oliver. But she's also shooting someone who's got a gun pointed at Arrow and might get, like, I'm not sure that McKenna has any intention of shooting him, but she's gonna learn who he is if he turns, let's see, she said turn around slowly, and she would probably have him put the bow down. He turns around slowly, and then she says, now, remove the hood. And that's it. He's, I mean, she's known him for all these years. You think she can't tell who he is just because she can't see his cheekbones? Like, that wasn't the worst line in a movie that I'm overall not very fond of, but I think it's okay to make jokes about some of these costumes, because yeah, like when it's covering that little of the face, how is it a disguise? Anyway, yeah, I think so. Yeah, in a way, she's protecting him and saving him, but she's also hurting him. It is such a, because like ultimately she could have just thrown the shotgun towards Mackenzie, because then she has to like try to grab it or something. That would buy enough time for Oliver to pull his escape, act, or maybe fire an arrow at her gun and then run, something, with both of them there. Certainly, maybe Helena can hold off Mackenzie while he gets a head start, and maybe if she needs a head start as well, she can like maybe force Mackenzie to handcuff herself to her car or something, but or if she's in too much of a hurry, fire an arrow into her foot or leg or something that will prevent her from chasing them down but won't kill her. But I mean, did she know about the Kevlar? I'm not sure she did. I think she might have been trying to kill, so yeah. I think that does cover all of the present day stuff. But yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly what Helena's gonna do, because I feel like, there's that thing about, 48-hour window and then she'll never be able to find Frank again. I mean, yeah, she's not going to be able to catch him within that time, I feel like. I guess it's not impossible that somewhere down the line he might. I swear I'm not trying to spoil it. Okay, I'm gonna move on. Great flashbacks as well. There we also have the leverage thing, and yeah, the thing about the yeah, taking out all the guys there, and the thing about removing, was it circuit board? Without that, it's nothing. You're gonna get us transport off this island. Very, very clever. I think, yeah, really looking forward to the next episode. Right now, probably looking like the day after tomorrow, or maybe the day after that. Depends on. There's a video game. I'm not 100% sure what day of this week I'll finish. So, but yeah, not very long. Almost definitely. Yeah. It was really, really cool. When they talk about, oh, there's like 6 guards, so how could we possibly take all of those out? And I'm trying to think. I mean, there are 2 of you. Splinter Cell Blacklist co-op, I'm pretty sure you could pull some moves. You might need some of the, maybe use the drone to scan first, and then use some of those gas things. Apparently, you can't do like co-op and multiplayer in that game anymore. I mean, I get that, it's 12 years old and whatever. Still too bad, but moving on. Yeah. Instead, he pulls a pre-RoboCop like Alex Murphy, dual wield after the fake out of oh, I took him prisoner kind of thing. Yeah, that was really cool. I should watch RoboCop again. I will do videos on that trilogy. It's just there's so many movies to do. Um, but yeah, that was also clever, and I appreciate this thing of like he's thinking outside the box because this thing of like blowing it up is that's one thing, but if they say, well, we have the circuit board, you can have it back, quid pro quo, Clarice.